The day George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, and Darnella Frazier changed the world. Derek Chauvin was clearly a misfit and a psychopathic demon, and one of those extreme racists who joined the police force to obtain their full protection and license to kill Afro-American males and others. His very public killing of George on the 25th of May 2020 regarding a $20 bill demonstrated his views and reaction to the public one-knee Afro-American protest. It was initiated, the protest, by Colin Kaepernick on the 1st of September 2016 against systematic nationwide public police murders of Afros, institutional racism, and limits on freedom of speech. This very keen supporter of fellow misfit and racially oppressive President Donald Trump displayed slogans saying, "Make whiteness great again." And this uniformed killer was aware of how that one kneeling protest had infuriated Donald Trump. He, like all others, was also aware that due to their lost human rights and with no defense or protection, killing Afro males is a risk-free sport, as there's almost never a prosecution, especially of the murdering police officers. With so many ongoing public murders of Afros without penalty, Chauvin felt free to send his own message of murder to the far-right extreme racist groups and to the world. It was also a message of expression of Euro-American privilege and that they are still in charge in a changing world. These reactionary racists are all desperately fighting a futile battle to restore the old world order and almost complete Caucasian wealth, power, management, and control. Their world domination after 500 years is now a dying world that is still based on institutional racism and imperial opportunism. It is reliant on the victim's compliance through terror, blackmail, oppression, brute force, wars, exploitation, bullying, violence, psychological and covert, as well as overt, national and international institutional racism. As a psychopath, Chauvin's personality disorder would not allow him to feel guilt, empathy, blame, or responsibility for his crime. He may even have thought that if necessary, he could rely on a presidential pardon from his fellow racist oppressor, Donald Trump. However, in life, things are not always what they seem, and there are more things in life than the things that we can see. People are often victims of their own success, and the universal process of movement, change, and transformation may without warning suddenly bring about a new era. It was this activation and application of existing racial division and racial oppression of Afros and the minority people of color, including Muslims, Mexicans, and such, that was the key to Trump's election as U.S. president. He used mischief, lies, deceit, tricks, and as many as possible to deflect from his incompetence, toddler personality, and subnormal abilities. Trump had hoped that by continuing his policy of racial division and the racial oppression of all minority groups who are people of color, he could secure his re-election. But the murder of George Perry Floyd, within 8 minutes and 46 seconds, instantly changed everything. At that fateful moment in time within the universe, George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin while 17-year-old Darnella Frazier video recorded the event, and together they then inspired, woke up humanity, and changed the world. Along with the victim, Darnella, and others on the scene pleaded for the life of George to be spared, as the victim said that he couldn't breathe. But Derek showed no mercy. George, calling for his mother with his last breath, touched the hearts of people with empathy and compassion. It also triggered spiritual thoughts and awareness in many people who reflected upon it. However, out of this tragedy that touched the world's conscience and feelings of mercy and compassion, dreams were realized. Like a sudden release of a Vader cosmic force, the dream and the long and hard life's work of many martyrs were realized. They include Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Fela Kuti, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bernie Grant, MP, and Medgar Evers. Those unseen cosmic rays also carried in the hopes and the dreams of the many people who are still fighting for a better world today. These include the Reverend Al Sharpton, David Lammy, Julius Malema, MP Bernie Saunders, Elizabeth Warren, PLO Lumumba, Paul Kagame, Jane Elliott, and Jeremy Corbyn, among many others. It also includes billions of other people, well-meaning people, on the planet who are moved, inspired, and spurred into new thoughts and action. They were suddenly never the same again, and so helped to already change the world order. In reality, great progress and a great leap forward was made in the Afro world and the whole world in general against institutional racism and other forms of oppression than before. Indeed, more progress was made within 3 weeks of the action of George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, and Darnella Frazier than in the last 2 generations. We could see the knee on his neck and mainly his head until George Floyd was dead. The great protest and magnificent worldwide outpouring of human emotion soon developed into a retrospective protest of many other past atrocities and present grievances. This was to be expected from a world population that had been informing and educating each other through social media for decades. People now had access to knowledge and information that had long been prevented by the power, monopoly, and control of the ruling class that had long exploited them. This made the protest different from all others in history. Some of the social scientists and more advanced specialists in society had opposed the government's initial stupid coronavirus advice. In this deadly pandemic, with so many tragic deaths and bereavement and loss, they forced the authorities to follow the better example of many clear-thinking people. As usual, the ruling imperial psychopaths and traditional oppressors of the public had their own hidden agenda, and that made some of their policies, advice, appeared ridiculous. The aim of the imperial ruling authorities is always to maintain calm oppression and prevent at all cost stimulus, inspiration, free thought, and awakening and action in the people. Many logical, analytical, well-meaning, and free-thinking people also led the George Floyd protest revolution, as again, most political leaders followed and learned from the process. This protest was different from all others that had gone before in that it showed the human family is mentally and emotionally coming of age. The awareness and inspiration of many people is now sharply raised to a higher level. In the past, after blowing off some steam, the people would settle down again like sheep, waiting to be led, managed, and controlled by the leaders. But unlike in the past, this time the people now know what they wanted and needed to make things better and are putting forward their demands. The U.S. President and now new Imperial Caesar threatened to unleash America's military force to smash and crush the demonstrators. But their courage and conviction could not be subdued, cowed, bowed, as George had showed them how. They went on in righteous solidarity, knowing they were blessed, for George had done the rest. The pre-Floyd status quo could never have lasted forever. And as social media changed and raised the consciousness of the general public, they would no longer tolerate the old order. The racial and general worldwide oppression of the human family by their beloved and well-respected ruling upper class was being realized and recognized. The oppressive, institutional, racist old ways had to change, and so it was bound to happen sooner or later. In this way, the sacrifice of George Floyd was not only for the oppressed Afro world, but for the whole world. And indeed, the whole world did respond. It is safe to say that due to the raised human consciousness, the old systemic oppression and the terrorizing, tormenting, and regular public murders of Afros worldwide without accountability or penalty is coming to an end.